If you haven't figured out from the rest of the channel, I love testing out portable power stations. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they're really small, and sometimes they're just the right size you need for what you want to do with it. And that's what we're going to be checking out today, the ALLPOWERS S200 portable power station. Hey everybody, it's Chris from Family Geekery, and today we're going to be testing out the ALLPOWERS S200 portable power station. And yes, this thing is pretty small, but it's got some decent specs to it, so we're going to test all that out and see what they are. But basically, this is a big power bank. We'll look at some of the specs here on the back. Sometimes if you've got a power bank like this guy right here to charge up your tablets and phones and Steam Deck and stuff like that, sometimes they're just not big enough, or you need some additional capabilities. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. So the S200 has 41,000 milliamp hours of battery, lithium-ion battery, which is right at 154 watt hours. So it's worth mentioning that this is not something that you would carry on a plane. It has to be under 100 watt hours to be approved by TSA. But this is a great device for throwing in your backpack, keeping by the couch, taking camping with you, whatever the case is, because it is pretty lightweight, about 1.4 kilograms. That's just a little bit over 3 pounds, so definitely light enough to carry in a backpack. So if we look at the inputs and outputs, it says it has a DC input, and it says 100 through 200 volts, 50 or 60 hertz. I think that's just a misprint. That should be the AC input, but it shows a solar panel input of 18 volts up to 99 watts max, and a USB-C power delivery input up to 60 watts max. So if you deplete this thing all the way, you can plug it into a USB-C charger and charge it back up in about 3 hours. But here's the kicker. It's got an AC output, so there must be a little inverter in there, and we'll definitely test that out. It says continuous up to 200 watts with a surge of 240. So we'll test out a couple devices on that. It's got your standard USB-A output, probably 5 volts at 3 amps, and then a USB-C output all the way up to 60 watts max on the power delivery. And it looks like it's even got a wireless charger built into it, 5 volts at 1 amps. So not a really fast wireless charger, but nice little feature anyhow. So let's go ahead and open this box up and see what this power station looks like and see what else comes with it. Alright, so inside the box we've got the power station itself, and the only cable it comes with is that AC charging cord, and here it is. It's just basically an 18 volt 2 amp charger, so basically 36 watts, and that's it. Just came with the AC charger. Now remember, it has the ability to charge over USB-C also, and that's what I'm doing right now because it's supposed to be able to charge up to 60 watts over USB-C, and this thing was absolutely dead in the box, so it had 0% battery. Wouldn't power on at all. So I've got the USB-C cable plugged into here, and that's plugged into this desktop anchor. And the anchor says it's putting out about 56, 57 watts. And the ALLPOWERS here says that it's coming in at 55 watts. So I'm going to go ahead and let that charge for a little bit because we won't be able to test much without some kind of charge in here. And I'll be back in a little bit once I got some charge put in there. Alright, so I got it all charged up. So let's go ahead and take a look just around the whole device here. So right in the front we can see we've got an AC plug here, single AC plug. We've got a couple USB-A's in the front here, a power button to turn on the display, and the display gives us a good amount of information. We'll look at that in just a second. We've got a multicolored light here which will tell us what mode it's in, whether it's outputting AC, outputting DC, or both. On the top we've got that wireless charger, and then on the right hand side here we've got the USB-C port, which is both an input and an output. We've got the DC input port, which goes with the included AC charging plug. And then we've got 2 buttons here to turn on either the AC output by pressing and holding that for 3 seconds, or turning on the DC output just by single pressing that. Other than that, we've got some ventilation, and that's about it. So on the bottom there is a little sticker that has some of the specs in case you forget what they are, so that's always nice. And then some little rubber feet on the bottom to keep this thing from sliding around. So we're showing a green light here on the front, which means it's in DC mode. So let's go ahead and see if we can toggle through these. Let's hit the DC mode button again, and it turned it off. Let's press and hold the AC button, and there we got a red light, and I can hear a little fan going on in there. Obviously you got to keep the inverter nice and cold. And then let's hit the DC button again, see if we can make this turn yellow. And there it is, kind of an orange, but yep, makes sense. So let's go ahead and toggle those off again and see what kind of information we got on the screen. We've got an overall battery indicator on the left there. We're going to have a runtime counter there for either charging up or discharging. And then we've got 3 watt meters there, the input, the output for DC, and the output for AC. So let's go ahead and plug something in and test out the output feature. Let's go ahead and try out this AC output first. Let me grab something. I'll be right back. Alright, so I've got my trusty little dipper here, which is just a small crock pot. And we're going to use that to test the AC output. So let's go ahead and toggle the inverter on first. Alright, so we got the red light on. I've got this turned off so we shouldn't see any kind of load yet, and it's showing 0 watts. Now this is a modified sine wave output, so since it's not a pure sine wave, you might not want to use it with super delicate electronics, but for something like this, it should be fine. Important to note that in the instructions, when it's talking about the modified sine output, it says that this is for emergency use only. You should not use it long term for a normal AC output. So I think that's just their way of warning you, hey, this is not the same thing that comes out of your wall, so think about what you're going to be plugging into it and how long you're going to run it. But on that note, let's go ahead and turn on the little dipper here to low. And let's wake up the screen again and see what we're seeing here. So it looks like about 50 watts out. And sorry about the backlit screen. So it seems to be running okay at 50 watts out. Let's go ahead and turn this up to high. And we have jumped up to 74 watts, and at 74 watts it says it should be able to run this for about 1.5 hours. So definitely enough time to heat up some queso or something in this little dipper, since we're using it for emergency uses only. But yeah, so that under 200 watts, not a problem at all. I don't have anything handy that's right at 200 watts to kind of test it out. I've got things that go over 200 watts, and I'm pretty sure it wouldn't like that at all. But it seems to be running just fine. Now it looks like I don't remember hitting the DC button. Maybe I accidentally pressed it, but it's hit yellow, so it is showing that it's got DC on as well. So these DC ports must be turned on. I'm going to go ahead and grab something else. I'll let this keep on cooking and plug something into the USB-C port here and see how much power we can get out of that at the same time as using the AC. Alright, so I still got the little dipper here plugged in, running on high. We're looking at still 75 watts or so coming out. I plugged in a USB-C to USB-C cable into this MacBook, and it doesn't seem to be seeing anything at all. So even in the system properties where it shows what kind of charger is plugged into it, it shows that there's no charger plugged into it. So that's interesting. Let's go ahead and turn off, or let's turn down the little dipper first and see if that USB-C port activates, and doesn't look like going down to low. So let's go ahead and turn it off. Still nothing. So let's go ahead and turn the AC off. And nothing popped up automatically. Let's go ahead and unplug the cable and plug it back in. And now we're starting to see a DC output. So let's go ahead and refresh the screen. I know you won't be able to see it, but I'll read it out to you. When I go to power, scroll down, it is seeing that it sees a 60 watt charger plugged into it. So that's what that power delivery port is rated for, 60 watts. So it's reading that fine. And I do see the battery charge indicator up on the MacBook. So let me go ahead and turn that inverter back on and see if it kills that out. And so far it hasn't. Let's go ahead and turn the little dipper back on. And now we're still showing 75 watts coming out AC. And it sounds like the DC port might have dropped out and back in. And the MacBook says that there's no charger hooked up. So it's very possible that it just can't output enough. So I'm going to unplug this just so it's not angry. Let's go ahead and plug something in to the front USB-A port while this AC is still running. So I've just got a little phone charger here, and the phone is charging, so it looks like we can get the AC output and a small DC output, it shows it's only sending 2 watts out. The phone might not be asking for a whole lot right now. There's 4 watts, that's a little bit closer. And it's climbing up. So about 7 watts it looks like it jumped up to. So we're still using the AC. We've got a couple watts coming out for a phone charger, but probably not going to be able to use the USB-C at the same time. While I've got the phone here, I'll go ahead and unplug the cable from that, throw it up on this wireless charger, and it turned right on. So the wireless charger works fine with the inverter also on. So as long as you don't need to use the AC output and the USB-C output at the same time, then you'll be fine. Alright, the next thing I wanted to do was to test to see if it could charge and discharge at the same time. Now I've had this little dipper still running, and we're down to 84%, and I just plugged in this USB-C cable back to my desktop charger, and I am getting, looks like the full, just about 60 watts coming in at the same time that the 75 watts is going out. So if you had some other way of charging this at the same time, then you could use this basically as a portable inverter, and this will definitely extend the runtime of whatever it is that you're plugged into on the AC port. Now speaking of runtime, we said this has a built-in battery of about 154 watt hours, which isn't huge, but it's decent for the size of battery that we're carrying around, for portability reasons. But if you have a device that takes 50 watts, then you're probably only going to get, less than 3 hours runtime out of this. If you got something that only takes about 20 watts, then you may be able to get 6 or 7 hours, so you may be able to get overnight with it. That's always assuming that there's no input going in. So you got to kind of look at what your use case is, what you're going to be plugging into it, so you can start to guesstimate how long you think it's going to run. Now, if you did have some way of extending the battery life or extending this runtime by having an input into it, then that's going to help. And it could be something as simple as like this guy here, which is a portable power station I just recently reviewed on the channel. And this has no AC ability. This is just a tiny bit smaller than this guy here. No AC ability, it's all just DC, but it is 270 watt hours. So this is definitely got more battery power than this, and you could just as easily take your USB-C cable and plug it into here, because this has a 100 watt output. And you could do exactly what we're doing here by just about extending the runtime by putting in almost as much power as you're taking out. Now if your device, again, if we turn this down to low, and you had a device that was under 60 watts, in this case we're down to 50 watts, then right now we're actually charging, in theory, we're charging the batteries of this thing a little bit because we've got more power coming in than we have coming out. So something this small, just as portable, about the same size, definitely a lot more power dense, will definitely enhance the runtime of your little inverter here. And like I said, I've been letting this thing run for a while, and it's got decent ventilation. I can hear a little fan in there. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not, but there is nothing yet on any of the surfaces that is warm at all. It did say in the instructions a little warning about, the device may get warm. That's completely normal. But so far, it seems pretty good. If we had some kind of a 200 watt load on it, then maybe it would get a little bit warmer. But I don't think anybody's going to use something like this for a 200 watt load because it would only run for less than an hour. So let me go ahead and shut this stuff down, clean up the desk a little bit, and we'll talk about some final thoughts. Alright, so time for some final thoughts. Now before I get into the final thoughts, let's first kind of categorize this to where it kind of lives in the ecosystem of portable power stations. Now when we're looking for something that has an AC output and is still portable, you'll see a lot of these guys on Amazon, and they all range from somewhere in the 60 to 70 all the way up to 100 watt hours. This particular one has 100 watt hours of battery. They range from about 100 to 150 output on the AC ports. This one's 150. So less battery and less power output, and pound for pound probably about the same as this ALLPOWERS. It's obviously taller, but it's not quite as deep. And it is portable. I'm not sure if you'd want something like this sticking in your backpack. I think this fits a little bit better in a backpack. But when we go from here up, then we're looking at a more traditional power station. So think about a Geeky or Bluetti or EcoFlow. And really the most portable one in that same kind of category is probably this Anker Solix C300. And this has almost twice as much battery power as this. and it's got 300 watts output on the AC ports, but it is considerably larger and heavier than the ALLPOWERS S200. So now that we see where it kind of sits in the ecosystem here, it is actually a fairly capable product for a small size. 154 watt hours means it's not going to go on a plane with you, but like I said, it can easily go in a backpack, sit it next to you on the couch, and extend the runtime of, a Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck or something. Put it by your bedside and run a CPAP if you need to. Use it for camping. All kinds of uses. Now, the caveat is you got to look at what you're going to be plugging into it, figure out your runtime, and then go from there. It's fairly easy to charge. It does come with this adapter here, but as long as you have a decent USB-C charger of some sort, whether it's something like this Anchor one here, which is like 65 watts output, or a desktop charger, or even a cigarette lighter plug charger for your car, they have those that will go well over 60 watts. You could charge this thing pretty easily on the go, and I wouldn't even worry about this guy. As long as you've got a decent USB-C cable and a charger, that's the way I would do it. So easy to charge, decent output configuration, pretty portable. I think it'll do the job. But let me know if you have any questions about it. Go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you want something tested out with it, let me know and I'll try to test it out and let you know how it works. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, I appreciate a thumbs up. Go ahead and check out the rest of the channel. I've got lots of reviews on power stations. We put them all to the test. So if you're on the fence about buying something like this, check out some of the reviews and see which one works best for you. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. I appreciate you for watching. And until next time, peace out and geek out.